today from the Kansas Speedway, 300 miles ahead on a very fast track with a partisan crowd pulling for two local racers that are now big-time NASCAR stars. Clint Boyer from Emporia, Kansas, hoping to come from the back in a backup car after a practice crash earlier on the weekend. And Carl Edwards there, the 07 champ, second in points in search of his third win in the last 5 races. Let's go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Air Force ROTC Detachment 465 Honor Guard from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Bishop Jack Vaughn of Evangelistic Center Ministries offers today's invocation.
Eternal God, we appreciate and applaud the gifts, talents, and skills you have so graciously endowed for this grand event. Today, stamina will be tested, speed will be challenged, and safety will be needed, and strategy will be essential for every driver and every team. So we entrust the safety of the drivers, the teams, and the fans into your hands. God bless this great event, and God bless America. In the name of Jesus Christ, the unique Son of God, amen.
Now please welcome U.S. Army veteran from Manhattan, Kansas, Betty O, as she performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
So, time to get down to business for these drivers. They'll climb aboard, hook up all that safety equipment we showed you earlier, and get ready to run 300 miles on a very fast track. The engines fire, and the green flag is coming up from Kansas next. A great look at the Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas, where race 29 of the NASCAR Nationwide Series gets underway on a somewhat chilly day this morning. It's supposed to rise up into the low 60s by this afternoon before the engines fire. Why don't we get some final stories from pit road and start with Shannon Spake.
Well, so far this weekend, this Kansas track has been the place of dreams for 19-year-old Parker Kligerman. After winning the ARCA race on Thursday night, the virtually unknown driver went out today in qualifying and knocked our points leader, Kyle Busch, off the pole. So in just moments, it'll be Kligerman that will lead the field to green, right next to Kyle Busch. I spoke with Parker Kligerman earlier today. I asked him how he's going to approach these first couple laps. He said, just like any other race, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try to take the lead. Dave?
Well, Shannon, we already heard from Kyle Busch what he's thinking. He's thinking, I'm going to talk to the young rookie, which he did. Make sure you start this race correctly, were Kyle's words to Parker Kligerman. Now, as for Kyle's part, he has 27 wins in this series. That ranks him 4th all-time in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He'd like to get another one today. His car is very good, and if he can make it through those first few laps with the young rookie, then perhaps he can call it yet another Nationwide Series win. Now let's go upstairs to the guys who are going to call today's race, including Marty Reed. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Dave. Thanks very much, guys. Good job so far as we're getting ready to go green. Let's stay on this topic because I want your perspective as a crew chief. What are you going to tell this young 19-year-old? And then I want you to play the role of both guys if you're Kyle and you're Parker.
Well, this kid is exactly what you're looking for in a driver, somebody that you have to pull the reins back on a little bit. You want to be able to tell this guy, say, look, we're grateful to be on the pole. We're glad to be here, but we don't want to go out here and go up in a blaze of glory in the first turn. Let's try let's try to get through this and try to get as much experience as possible. With all that being said, he's going to still do what he's going to do.
Oh, man, he's all jacked up. He just out-qualified Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Brad Keselowski, all these guys. He's on the pole. He wants to lead the first lap. But you don't want to mess things up. And so you're going to go out there. He's got a great race car driver, obviously. But what's Kyle Busch going to do? He has a decision to make. How much room is he going to give Parker down there? If he gets right against him, loosens him up, it could create a big crash, and his championship hopes may be hurt too. So he has a decision to make as we make this first lap down into the first corner.
All right, I still got one quick question for you. If you're Kyle Busch, are you going to squeeze him a little?
No, I'm going to give him some room. Give him a little bit of room. If he leads that first lap, it'll be great.
Okay, we'll wait and see what happens as we get ready to go down on trackside. You can see the 43-car field that we had 51 total try to qualify. One other quick topic, guys, as far as Clint Boyer, after last week's great performance, now he's got to come back from the back of the field almost.
Yeah, he's got a lot of motivation. This is a home track for him.
Yeah, he really wants to do well in front of his family and friends here. So, well, I think he'll do all right today.
All right, well, we've gotten the signal. It is time to get this show on the road. So let's go trackside for the command to start the Kansas Lottery 300.
All right, race fans, please welcome Kansas Lottery Commissioner from Wichita, Kansas, Joni Franklin, as she delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Fired up when you're ready, Brad.
Appreciate you helping us out today, Spotter. No jokes.
10-4. You got a little passenger with you?
I did.
Yeah.
I'm actually in the face and yanked you out.
Okay. Push you forward there a little bit.
Running
Yeah,
what
get conservative. Let's from up here then.
Let her go, bud. Find out what you got.
I'll learn how to do that someday, T-Roy. Y'all good? Oh, good.
10-4.
Bad enough to listen to me, let alone have to look at me for.
The view from high above as the engines have fired. Let's get the final reports from pit lane. We talked a little bit about the border battle between Carl Edwards from Missouri, Clint Boyer from Kansas. Let's get more from Vince Welch.
That's right, Marty. Of course, Carl Edwards is from Missouri, Clint Boyer from Kansas. They'll have a big bragging rights and a big border battle coming up in the Cup race tomorrow. And certainly a little bragging rights wouldn't hurt them today either. But Edwards is looking forward to the opportunity to not just battle with Clint Boyer for the border bragging rights, but also to cut into the lead of Kyle Busch in this series. If he's going to cut into the lead and have a chance for the championship, he's got to win races, and he's got to start today. Jamie?
And the man on the other side of the state line battle is Clint Boyer. Now, up until yesterday morning, this team thought they had the car to take it to victory lane in front of the hometown crowd. But a practice crash early yesterday sent the race-winning car from Dover last weekend to the garage. Now, he's in this backup car, and it hasn't shown much speed as of yet. The team has been working on it, but earlier today, they qualified 34th, and that alone should give him plenty to talk about, as today he is our in-race reporter. And now we go upstairs to the man who's going to talk to Clint, Dale Jarrett. Hey, DJ.
Hey, Jamie, thanks a lot. Clint Boyer, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Dale.
Hey, Clint, our first question comes from our mailbag, and Mike Petrini in Independence, Missouri would like to know, are you a Jayhawk fan or a Wildcat fan?
A Jayhawker, baby.
Didn't take you long to answer that. Hey, man, did you have enough time in this car yesterday to get it competitive for today?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I got us behind the 8-ball without a doubt, and without crashing that other car. That car was a really good car. It's a car we won with last week. Guys had a lot of confidence in that car. Hated for them boys. Holiday and Chevrolet for today, you know, could be better, but we're going to work our butts off and get the best run we possibly can out of this deal.
Hey, Clint, you've been really good at this racetrack. First, what makes you so good, and what's the difficult parts of this racetrack for you?
Just being home, extra horsepower, you know what I mean?
All right, Clint, thanks a lot for talking with us. Have a great day. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Doug Randolph.
Hey, Doug, Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
For loud and clear, Andy.
Hey, Doug, tell us a little bit about either how similar or how different these cars are from your back. You know, this car is from your backup car that you brought here.
Yeah, we're constantly trying to make our program better, and we rolled out a new generation of car in Atlanta, and then obviously the one at Dover was really good. Just constantly trying to make it better, and this backup car hasn't quite got those updates yet, but this is a team sport, and I have all the confidence in the world that we execute on pit road, make good calls on pit. When it does his thing on the racetrack, we'll get a solid finish today.
Well, Doug, are you going to do anything strategy-wise to try to dig out of this hole in the beginning here?
Well, we'll see how it goes. You know, like I said, we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. We might try some different things. You know, Clint, he said he's a Jayhawk fan, but I believe he's a closet Tennessee fan.
Okay, Doug. Good luck today. Thanks for talking to us.
All right, let's introduce you to our over-the-wall reporter, and there he is, John Buslow, the jackman for the number 24 of Eric McClure. If he looks a little nervous, well, wife Melissa's expecting their first child within 2 weeks. Thanks, John, and we wish you guys the best. Let's check on the onboards. We've got a bunch for you. There you go, David Gillen, Justin Allgaier, Jason Keller. We've already talked to Clint with the Evel Knievel helmet, Kevin Harvick, Carl Edwards, Brendan Gaughan, and Stephen Wallace. So as the pace laps wind down, that means we're closer to going green, and that's what we'll do when we come back to Kansas Speedway. Less than a lap till we go green here at Kansas. Let's check out the quick set smart keys to the race, Andy.
Well, the tire management is going to be a big key here because this surface is abrasive and you've got to be good over a long run. And keeping it between the lines. And we're not talking about the painted lines we see. We're talking about these tar strips we've seen on the racetrack, and it's been giving a lot of problems to some of the guys. So managing those tar stripes can really be a key factor. And fuel mileage. Always on a 1.5 miles, that comes into play. You have to figure that can be an option at the end of the race.
2 cars are going to the rear. The 47 with the driver change. Chase Miller is out. Michael McDowell is in. And, of course, the 16 car with Greg Biffle had to go to the rear because of the qualifying crash. How about the race analysis? Well, we're going to go for 200 laps. Don't speed over 45 on pit lane or you'll get busted. Pit window. And, again, fuel could be one of those key strategies. 55 to 60 laps and only 15 degrees of banking in the corners compared to 24 last week at Dover.
Yeah, that creates a lot bigger problem for these guys, not having that banking to lean on as you go down inside of a car going into these corners. We'll see how these guys react to it today.
They'll just lean on each other, I guess. All right, we talked about this start. The pace car has pulled off. 19-year-old Parker Kligerman on pole, and outside the winningest driver this year in the series with 6 wins, Kyle Busch. And this race, number 29, is green. Kyle's giving him room.
Kligerman got a good start. Beats Kyle down to turn 1. And he's got him cleared off, too.
So far, so good all the way around the track. Justin Allgaier picked up a few spots. You saw on the far right side of the screen. There goes the 20 of Joey Logano. He's now ahead of the 60 of Carl Edwards. Right behind him there is Michael Annett. Well, Parker Kligerman's going to get his wish. Not only does he get the pole, he's going to lead his first lap in the Nationwide Series race.
And you think this guy was a veteran the way he's handled this whole thing. I mean, sitting on the pole, leading the first lap. He's pulling away from Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and give a little credit to Kyle Busch. He gave him some room there. He understood the situation, and he's racing for a championship, too, as we have a crash in turn 2.
Patrick Sheltra, another ARCA veteran, making a start here at Kansas, has put it into the wall in a beautiful paint scheme that is now all dinged.
He's knocked the rear bumper off of it.
Flat wrecked us.
Well, you heard that he said, I think he said the 23. They're saying wrecked him. Patrick, if you follow the ARCA series, boy, he had a huge crash back at Daytona earlier in the year, sat out a month, came back, won his first race at Salem. Take another look.
Well, I wouldn't say the 23 took him out right here. It looks like he kind of crowded the 23 getting in the corner there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, and there's just not a lot of grip to be had out there right now, especially you've got low air pressures. The cars move around quite a bit.
Robert Richardson in the 23. There's Biffle just getting around as well. Take another peek here. There they are in the back. Yeah, I think he came down more than anything.
Yeah, it looks to me like he did. I mean, you see it's 3 wide at that 1.2, so just takes a little give and take early in the race.
So we're under our first caution here at Kansas Speedway as you can see them working on the damage in the pit lane, and we'll be back with the restart. Well, they're faithful, but I'm not quite sure they have the right key. Clint Boyer would be proud here at the Kansas Lottery 300 as we are under our first caution after some slight contact. Put the 81 up against the wall. He has made a pit stop, fixed the damage, and Sheltra is back out. Take another look.
You can see as they go down into turn 1, he really turns the car down hard. I think he believe he had a little more room than that.
I barely got him.
All right.
He's trying to pinch me off, getting in the corner. I didn't have nowhere to go.
Well, I mean, it looked to me like the 23 car, Richardson thought maybe that other car was on the inside of him and maybe didn't want to turn his car all the way down to the bottom, afraid he might get crashed himself, and so maybe he didn't leave quite enough room.
Said many times there's always two views to these accidents, and depends on which end of it you're on.
All right, let's quickly update you. We have 2 cars behind the wall already in the starting parks, Danny O'Quinn and the 90 of Johnny Chapman. And let's get ready for the restart. Now, it looks like Parker is picking the inside. Good choice.
I think so. I really can't see, and they'll probably prove me wrong before this day's over, but I can't see anyone choosing that outside. There's just not enough grip in that second lane. The only reason you might choose that outside is if you think you can beat that inside guy down into turn 1 and get that wide arc going down there.
Now remember, it's to the restart line. You heard Kyle talk about it in countdown. It's a little bit different than the initial start. Pace car is about to pull off, and look at Kyle. He's already right up there. He knows what the rule is, though.
Yeah, he cannot beat this 22 car to the start-finish line.
Whoa, and he comes down a little bit. Parker comes up a little bit, and Parker snookers him.
I think he did.
Woo! That goes into the memory book.
It might be his first nationwide race, but it's not his first race by any means. He knew exactly what he was doing on that restart.
Yeah, I know what horse he's riding in this rodeo.
David Gilliland gets a little bit loose in that one car.
Gilliland gets it back under control, loses a couple of spots. That's Scott Speed, the 99 going by. Here goes the 38 and Leffler, and look at Harvick in the 33.
Yeah, they were 4 wide there for a second on the backstretch. Look at Harvick, though. He's still digging on the bottom.
I think he's got jet fuel right now. He just picked up about 3 spots. On board with Harvick, that's Michael Annett, who has had a very good string of races recently here in the Nationwide Series. Take a view up front as Parker Kligerman has opened up a half a second lead. Shannon?
Parker Kligerman's crew came over the radio and reminded him about the restart rules, guys, because they wanted him to get it right, and he has. He told me before this race, hey, listen, I know I'm racing around Kyle Busch and some of the best drivers in this series. I know I have to treat with them with respect because I do want to race them on Sunday, but I'm here to get out front, too.
On the left side of your screen, you can see Clint Boyer trying to fight his way up through the field, but he's got a log jam in front of him.
We look at the 88 car there. Keselowski getting a little bit loose, getting in the corner. Now you see the 29 gets clear on the back stretch.
Brad shown in 17th. That's Eric Darnell right behind him in 18th. And here we go. Here comes the 18, Kyle Busch, saying, wait a minute, son, you've had your fun. It's time for me to take over and run.
Yeah, you'd have to wonder if the 22 car is a little bit too much on the tight side. A fast lap like that and being able to run on the restarts that fast, you might be a little bit too tight as you make a few laps.
I talked to Parker down in the garage area after qualifying and asked him about his car and race trim. He said, well, honestly, he said our car was a little tight in race trim, and we did get a great qualifying run. He said we're probably going to be a little bit tight, but we've got it adjustable, and we plan to adjust it as this race goes on. And I think the crew chief, Chris Carrier, wants to keep him a little bit on the tight side to start with.
Probably a good choice to start this race.
Greg Biffle has moved up to 25th. Remember, he had to go to the back of the field because of crash that occurred in the second lap of qualifying.
There's 3 wide making a pass down on the apron. Now, there is no out of bounds here. That comes up in about 4 weeks at Talladega where you have to worry about that.
It's a good thing because 16 was about 3 lanes out of bounds.
Here goes second place, says Joey Logano, who started 7th, is going around our young pole sitter, Parker Kligerman.
Boy, Joey sounded very confident in the pre-race show about his car and the way it was handling.
I haven't seen any after effects from the crash of last week either.
No, if anything, more determined to show that it's not affecting him whatsoever. And I talked with him a little bit yesterday, and he said he's just ready to get back in the race car and do some more racing.
Let's take you back a moment ago. We were looking at some 4 and 5 wide. Look at the 33 come out. That is Harvick. Man, he scoots around Wimmer in the 5.
The last time we saw these guys on a 1.5-mile racetrack, Kevin Harvick wore them out at Atlanta. Doesn't have much grip either, so he could be the man to beat here today. Dave?
And DJ, his crew chief Ernie Cope told me this morning, our 14th place qualifying spot, we're not so worried about that in terms of our car performance. We know that our car is good, but the thing we are concerned about is where that puts us track position-wise. We need to get out in the clean air, get up toward the front as quickly as possible. You can tell Kevin Harvick understands that. He passed 5 cars on that restart up to 9th and has picked up a couple of more since then.
He's making his own clean air right now, Dave.
Battle between the 5 of Scott Wimmer and Justin Allgaier, and that is for 14th. And Allgaier in a battle for the final podium spot at the awards ceremony after the race at Homestead. On board with Justin. Look at the log jam in front.
Yeah, a lot of racing going on here. A lot of side-by-side racing, cars sliding around. See, Brad Keselowski, as part of that, he really thought his car was going to be fast enough to go right to the front, but I think he might be a little bit loose to start this race.
And Clint Boyer, you see him in the shot, he's gained 18 spots since the start of the race. Didn't sound like he was all that confident in this race car, but it sure is running good.
Let's update you on some other cars. The 78 of Kevin LePage has taken it behind the wall. So is Mark Green, Terry Cook, and Sheltra is now 7 laps down as they keep working on it in pit lane. And the 47 of McDowell has taken it behind the wall. At the back of the view there, the 16 sneaking it. There he is. Look out. Here comes Greg Biffle. He's got it. Teammate Eric Darnell in his gun sights.
Yeah, the only one that's gained more spots than Clint Boyer is Greg Biffle. He's gained 23 spots since the start of the race.
Greg's looking for something. He's finally something positive out of this day. He wrecked his primary car this morning qualifying. He spun out in cup practice. Just a lot of things happening for him, so nice to see him doing well.
Well, Biffle has led a lap in 7 of the 8 races here in Kansas, and boy, Clint Boyer's going to the apron to get around the 38 of Leffler. And here comes the 16 of Biffle right along behind him. So the action continues here at Kansas after a quick early caution. We've had a lot going on after just 14 of 200 laps. Stay with us. Back here at the Kansas Speedway, it has become a Joe Gibbs Racing 1-2 effort right now. Kyle Busch has now led a total of 12 laps. That's significant because he needed 75 to become the all-time single-season lap leader, breaking Sam Ard's record. We'll keep you posted on that. Joey Logano started 7th and has been on the move.
Well, he's reeled him in, and then all of a sudden it seems like he got about 20 car lengths from the back bumper, and it seems to have stalled him out a little bit.
Now, the guy who has really flown through this field is Greg Biffle. He has now picked up 28 positions since the start of this race. He's up to 13th.
I talked to Eddie Pardue, the crew chief on this car, and they were getting it ready after the crash in qualifying. I asked him about it. He said it's actually the car they were going to run at California, but they decided to go ahead and run it today. They brought it out here to put it in the hauler to take it from here to California, and they elected to run that car instead of running the backup car, which they had in the truck. It's more like what the car they crashed in. Beyond that, with the setup that they had in this car, they've tested at the shop on what's called a pull-down rig or a K-rig, and they developed that setup with that new type setup that they want to try here, and so they're going to go ahead and see it through with this car.
Well, let's get more from Vince.
Well, and one of the things that Eddie and his team has struggled with throughout the course of this season, they've been a little bit too free at the beginning of the runs, and they feel like it's cost them too many positions, so they snugged the car up for the start of these runs today, feeling as if they could be a little bit more of a factor early in the run. Now, whether or not that penalizes them later in the run as the car tightens up remains to be seen, but there's no doubt about starting off a little more snug has definitely worked as Greg Biffle makes his way through some of this slower traffic, Andy.
I'd have to say, Vince, that's a great thing that they did in tightening that car, especially now that the sun has come out, and that's probably the highest track temperature these guys have seen since they've been here for 2 days.
Well, he's just picked up 2 more spots, getting around Brian Scott in the 11 and Michael Annette. And on the right side of your screen, you can see where Clint Boyer got around Scott Wimmer. So as we pointed out, we've had a lot of passing going on all over this racetrack. And so Biffle has now moved up to 11th, and Boyer is up to 15th.
Yeah, but it hadn't been without a little bit of adventure off the corner a couple of times.
Yeah, let's take you back and show you exactly what we're talking about. This is several laps ago involving Clint Boyer in the 29.
Watch, he tries to make this pass on Brendan Gaughan on the inside. He's got a car right on his back bumper. Really gets him loose.
The conversation on the radio was pretty good, too.
Try to slow you down for a minute, won't it?
That was just about it.
Well, you know you got your good car. Let's be real smart with it.
4 of it. That didn't scare me.
That was Childress at the end there.
And the car you saw got real loose, and it caused him to bottom out, and he got worried that he damaged the valence on that car. He has the team watching it closely. And for more on what Clint Boyer is talking about, let's go to the Craftsman Tech Garage and our own Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jamie. Anytime you damage the bottom valence of the car, what you want to do when you come in is repair it. It doesn't matter what, if you have to cut a piece of plastic or aluminum, but you're going to fix the bare bond to it and try to get it back to where you can get the air dam back down on the ground. You knock a hole in the front of it, you're just going to take a bigger piece of bare bond, put up there, plug up the hole, because aerodynamics means everything here in Kansas.
We're getting a look at that from that last camera shot. It looks like the wrap. They put wraps on these cars to do the color schemes. It looks like it's peeling a little bit on the lower part of that. I don't think that's a problem for them at all. I think it just made them get their binoculars out and take a look at it. Looks to me like it's fine.
Well, his last lap was 33.2 seconds. To give you an idea of the race lead, Kyle Busch, 32.8.
I think they probably are surprised they've got a better car, because none of them seem to be too excited about the prospects of today, but it's something they can probably work with here and at least come out with a top 10 finish.
Let's update you. Casey Atwood has pulled the 05 into the garage area. So has Jarrett Johnson. So that updates you on the start and park situation. Scott Wimmer right now in the 5, running 16th. And this is his last race in this car this year.
He was really hoping to have a good showing here today, and hopefully will as the day progresses on. Looks like he's battling this race car right now.
There's our race leader. That is Kyle Busch in the 18 going around Joe Nemechek. So Joe goes a lap down. Now Joe is 32nd, so that means we have 31 cars still on the lead lap. Kyle has opened up a 1.2-second lead over Joey Logano. Brian Vickers got around Parker Kligerman for third. Great view of the sign here at Kansas Speedway as we pull back in our aerial shot. You can see the parking lot and a good crowd on hand. It's 81,000 seat facility, and right now they're watching Kyle Busch with a 1-second lead over his teammate Joey Logano, and putting the 77 of Peyton Sellers a lap down. Sellers running 27th, so that means we now have 26 cars on the lead lap.
Kyle Busch looks like he really has this car where he wants it right now. Don't know that I'd say it's on a rail, but he by far can pass these cars wherever he picks them up. And we saw Joey Logano come up close to his back bumper, but he's pulled out to over a second lead on him again.
Yeah, let's keep checking back in the field, looking at some cars and seeing who might be coming on these guys. It looks like the 88 car, Brad Keselowski and Greg Biffle, have the fastest cars that are back in the pack and making their way to the front.
Keselowski is in 8th, and Biffle is in 10th. Let's get more on Joey Logano from Shannon Spake.
A little bit of inconsistency on the handling of this 20 car. Started off loose, got a little tight. Now it's a little bit loose. I'm kind of hearing that a lot on from the cars in my area down here. Just the track is changing so much as this run goes on. But it is hard to believe that it's been 11 races, as you see Dave Rogers looking on. Crew chief for Joey Logano. It's been 11 races since his team has gone to victory lane. They are hungry for a win here today, and you know they'll get the handling of this car right before the end of the day.
Shannon, thanks for the update. As you can see, Joey's got his hands full with a couple of slower vehicles. Tony Raines in the 34, Peyton Sellers in the 77. He goes high and looks like he will clear both safely. There is third place, Brian Vickers. First chance we've had to talk about Brian, as he is a total of 4.8 seconds behind our race leader.
Yeah, been very solid, though. He was able to take that third spot away and pull away from Parker Kligerman quite a bit. So it looks like Brian, who we're most of the time are used to seeing getting up in that high line, but he's been pretty much glued to the bottom.
A little bit further back, in fact 9.4 seconds behind the race leader. There's Parker Kligerman, and he's got his mirrors full with Scott Speed, because that's one of the best battles we have on the racetrack now. That is for fourth. The amazing thing about Kligerman, this is only like his 20th race on an oval. He has 8 wins in the ARCA series. The only reason he's not leading the points, he's trailing by 15 going into the last race at Rockingham, is because they get bonus points for qualifying, and Justin Lofton has just picked up a bunch of those bonus points.
He's certainly been impressive. Here's somebody else pretty impressive. Brad Keselowski. Looks like he started off this race extremely loose, fell back a few spots, and now he's really on the march. May have the fastest car, Andy.
Yeah, that's what I've watched this monitor, and he's definitely had the fastest laps the last 10 laps or so. It does say to me that he had a loose race car in the beginning, and the track is tightening up as they run. Makes this car come in really nice.
And here comes Harvick trying to get into this battle with the 22 of Kligerman and Scott Speed in the 99. And there is Brad Keselowski, as we mentioned. So all of a sudden, this is going to get real interesting from 4th place through 7th.
Well, what makes it so interesting, Marty, is that the slowest car is at the head of it, the 22 right now. The fastest car is the 88 behind it. So everybody's trying to get these spots while they can. Look, they're all close together. You see Harvick, they're getting a little bit loose. Yeah, maybe getting a tap from the 88.
I think Parker'd like a yellow right about now.
Yeah, he would. He would like to get in there, make an adjustment on that car. But right now, Chris Carrier's crew chief saying, hey, let's just be cool here. Don't panic. We'll get a caution here in a minute, and we'll adjust you up. You'll be fine.
Well, that's the one thing. We have not seen him put a wheel wrong this entire weekend, although now it's going to get a little dicey with the slower vehicle of Joe Nemechek. And there you can see how tight the fit is really going to be, as the 88 is going to get around him now and then slide down in front, clearing him. Jamie?
I'll tell you guys, this 88 is impressive, consistently turning laps in the 32-second range. Yesterday, he said this car was, quote, scary fast, and you guys nailed it. He started this race off extremely loose. That's how he qualified 19th. It was too loose. He said right now it's just a tick free, but he said, I think it's pretty good. Shannon?
Well, Parker Kligerman right now saying that the car is a little bit tight. His crew chief saying, don't worry, we'll fix you up. We got a plan for you. But in speaking with Parker Kligerman today, he told me that one of the challenges he's going to face today are green flag pit stops. He's only done them twice in the ARCA series and never in the Nationwide series. And his goal today, guys, is to finish all of the laps and just have fun.
See the 60 of Carl Edwards, and Edwards at this point having a decent run, but the car is just tight, as he says, especially as he starts to slow down. But it's a lot better when he gets back on the throttle, but definitely in the center of the corner, too tight. They've also been using the spotter quite a bit to see where the fast cars are running, if they're moving up off the white line or not. And most of the information Edwards is getting, the fast ones, especially the 18 of Kyle Busch, hugging that white line as Edwards tries to find the fast way.
Well, and he's going around Parker Kligerman right now, but here comes the 16 of Greg Biffle. He is running 9th and is about to be 8th.
Well, that's quite a run for Greg Biffle. I mean, he's done all of this by passing all of these race cars. As you see him make another pass well up into the top 10.
Well, this is pretty impressive. I mean, that 16 car, you know how many laps of practice they have on this car here?
Yeah, 0.
None.
Started 41st. He's going around Carl Edwards like Carl's, well, in slow motion. He's now up to 7th. He has picked up 34 positions. And while all this is going on, we can tell you that Joe Nemechek has taken his car behind the wall as well. Boy, if Biffle can pull this off, it's not the first time this year, as you can see him going around Robert Richardson there. Bliss, of course, came from the back at Lowe's, and Carl Edwards won 3 times this year: Milwaukee, Richmond, and O'Reilly Raceway Park.
I think these guys take it as a challenge whenever they have to go to the back, and it just a little more incentive for them to do well. Greg Biffle is certainly using it to his advantage right now.
Well, and Biffle has done it once before. He came from the rear in Pikes Peak in July of 2004. Driver of the day in the number 1, there is David Gilliland. Started 6th, is currently in the 10th position. 6th different driver in that car in the last 9 races, and Reed Sorensen in the 10 closing in on him here at Kansas Speedway. Sorensen can't quite get the pass done and keeps looking on the inside, looking across track to find our race leader, and there he is, Kyle Busch. He's now opened up a 2.07 second lead, Dave.
And this morning I asked his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, you guys are always so fast and you're always working on your car. What more is there to get? I mean, it's not like you're going to pick up 5 miles an hour or something, or, you know, make that a whole lot better. Jason told me, you know, we'd like to get balanced on both ends of the runs. We're not unloading as well as we did last year. Of course, we're testing some stuff, but I think we could do better. And having Kyle behind the wheel to adjust both in practice and during the race is the biggest key to that. He leads here at the Kansas Speedway.
afternoon on ESPN2 for the Nationwide Series. Kyle Busch out in front, one of 2 leaders in this race. Only 1 caution so far. Parker Kligerman, the young 19-year-old pole sitter, led the first 7 laps. Then Kyle went by him at lap 8, and Kyle's opened up a 1.8-second lead on Joey Logano. And as we look back on our young pole sitter, he has slipped back now to 12th place and about to give that up to Brian Scott in the 11 car with Rusty Wallace and Brad Doherty. First race in a Nationwide Series car for this young man. What's he going through?
Oh, he's doing a fantastic job, number one, but right now he's going through what these Nationwide cars do as far as changing track conditions. He's talking about the way his car's handling. They're really looking forward to that first pit stop so they can make adjustments and get him back in the game. But right now he's driving smart and he's giving good feedback to his team.
Yeah, I've really been impressed with the young man. His race car looks like it is very tight, but he's been in some battles and there's been a lot of cars around him, up on top of him. He's held his line, but giving guys a lot of room to get around him and to stay out of the fray. He's doing an excellent job for his first time out.
Rusty, you mentioned feedback to the team, some communication on the 22's radio just a minute ago.
When you get a chance with that thing tight, you may want to move up a little bit and try, but just get you a good feel for it. The 33's flying on the high side. Yeah, I can see that. I just got to get this thing to turn off. I can kind of roll it 10-4. That's what you're here for, to learn. Nice and smooth.
And as Kligerman runs in 13th place, upstairs to Marty, DJ, and Andy, he's probably learning a lot of lessons in this opening run of the race, huh?
Yeah, he's learning a lot, but he's doing a good job, just as Rusty and Brad were pointing out. But I think that I'd be careful in sending him up that racetrack with a tight race car. There's not a lot of grip up there. Probably the reason Kevin Harvick can make it work because his car's a little bit freer. It's always difficult with a tight car up there.
I think I just heard him say on pit road 2 laps, so we might see his first green flag pit stop in the Nationwide Series. They were concerned about that. Eric Darnell in the 6th, about to go a lap down to our race leader. Darnell in 18th. Does that give you an idea how good Kyle's car is? He has led 46 laps. If he leads 75, he breaks the single season mark, so he's closing in rapidly.
Second pit this time.
There's somebody pitting this time. That's the 22. He's on pit road.
So there he is. He's gotten down to the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and he's going to have to come all the way down pit lane. As you can see, Kyle put Scott Wimmer a lap down. That means now we have 15 cars on the lead lap. While Kyle continues to fly, let's send it to Shannon Spake.
They wanted to be a little bit conservative for Parker Kligerman on this pit stop because, like I said, it is the first pit stop in the Nationwide Series and only his 3rd green flag pit stop. They're going to make a track bar adjustment, try to free this car up a little bit, and 4 tires for the 19-year-old driver who has just impressed everyone. Looks like they're having a little bit of trouble with that front tire, guys, on the pit stop, but looks good for Parker Kligerman so far. He is in the box, just the crew struggling a little bit.
Well, a lesson learned there, too. He said about these, that'd be tough, but he got in there a little too close to the wall. Dave?
You see Kevin Harvick on the left. His car was tight. He'll need an air pressure adjustment. He was running 7th when this round of stops began. Your leader, Kyle Busch, on the right. Hey, double box with Kyle. I like that. They will change 4 tires for him. They will make a chassis adjustment. That is a wedge adjustment. That exit felt good to Kyle, but it came in too late. He wants it to come in just a little bit sooner. So that's just a half round of wedge to help that. Shannon?
Joey Logano in the 20 car. He is already in his pit stall, guys. They are going to work on that car, trying to free him up a little bit. That was the latest word from Joey. The car a little bit too tight. Vince.
The 60 of Carl Edwards tight in the center. They're going to raise the track bar on the right side. Also make an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires and fuel for Carl Edwards. Shannon?
And as green flag pit stops continue, it's Brian Vickers in the 32 Braun Racing car. His car has gone to the tight side, started off free, but as he's in traffic and track changing, the car has gone tight, so they are going to make an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for Brian Vickers. Scott Speed, Brian Vickers' Cup teammate, is also into his pit stall in that car for Michael Waltrip Racing. Scott Speed saying the car is good. He just needs track position. They're going to take 4 tires for this car and get Scott Speed back out on the track. Jamie.
And Brad Keselowski just gets in the pit box, and we have a caution on the track, guys. The 09 hits the wall.
Hit the wall.
And the 88, Brad Keselowski said his car was just a tick free. They loved it. The audible was 4 tires only. What a day it's been for the 88. He's down and away, guys.
Well, the caution is not good if you've been on pit lane, but boy, Greg Biffle is going to be the happiest guy in this place.
3,800.
He is going to
3,800.
Inherit this lead now after all these cars pitted. You see that tire shredded right there. That led to the I'm sorry, Marty. Didn't know if that led to the accident here with the 09.
Yeah, he tore up the right rear quarter panel. Remember that Biffle pitted after the first caution.
You can see there, that's the only damage he has is from this tire blowing up.
He pitted on lap number 3, and that may be the biggest break he has gotten all day. And
Look at that, man, it just blew the whole quarter panel off this 09. Must have run over something with that right rear. You can see the whole tread rubber of the tire came off.
And John Wesley was running 14th at the time of this, so a tough break for the 09 team.
Yeah, and a guy that's going to benefit too is we saw Eric Darnell get lapped a while ago by Kyle Busch, but he was able to stay on the racetrack, but he was still ahead of Greg Biffle, so he's going to be actually back on the lead lap. And we don't have many cars that are on the lead lap.
Anytime you have one of these caution flags fly in the middle of these green flag stops, you're going to see a mixture of strategies now on this restart, because we got the double file restart. We've got the wave around rule. You'll see the cars that pitted and got trapped by the pace car able to go around now when the leaders pit, when Greg Biffle and Michael Annett and Gilliland pit, and they'll have to wait a lap to make those pit stops because the pit road is closed.
A lot of debris to clean up there on that back straightaway. It'll give us a chance to step aside for just a moment, and we'll find out how this all shakes out. Boy, Greg Biffle. Well, fresh from another legendary victory, Brett Favre's determined to take down his old team, Green Bay. Or will Aaron Rodgers steal the spotlight and establish a new era? Rivals clash in an epic Monday night battle. It's ESPN's Monday Night Football. I know where I'll be. 8:30 Eastern. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 7 Eastern. Back here at the Kansas Speedway, we've got some takers on pit road, and there's the 16, our race leader, peeled off. And here comes Joey Logano. Vince?
Greg Biffle, remember, he started at the back after wrecking the car in qualifying. It's been great so far during the race. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. They also increased the stagger in that set of tires to free him up a little bit. Very happy with the balance of the car so far. Shannon?
Yeah, Joey Logano back inside his pit stall, guys. I'll have to get down there. I'm checking the tires on one of these other teams. We're seeing some cords. I'll have to get down there and see what Joey Logano did.
All right, Shannon, obviously going to have to get your track shoes on there to get both ways. We saw the fuel go in. They topped him off. And also you see the one car there as David Gilliland, Michael Annett took advantage of this round of caution. This is our second caution of the day, and they're still cleaning up the debris from the 09 of John West Townley. We can tell you the Aaron's lucky dog will go to the 62 of Brendan Gaughan, so he'll be the one getting the free pass. And so now, after this caution, we've sorted it all out for this great crowd here at Kansas, and we'll get back to Green Flag Racing.
Finals Sunday evening at 7.
Exciting drag racing action there. Exciting NASCAR action here at the Kansas Speedway as we are under caution for the second time about a third of the way through today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Few different things going on at once here. First of all, some of the rubber coming off these cars on that first set of pit stops, Rusty and Brad.
Yeah, some of those guys are cording the right rear tire. That was a long run. That was close to 55 laps they ran in that first fuel stop, and so very hard on the right rear tire.
Just shows you how these cars are really floating around out there on the racetrack, trying to find grip, getting down to these cords.
Want to add something there, Jamie?
Yeah, Alan, actually walking up and down in my pit area, you're seeing a lot of the cords on the outside or the inside of the tires, but the one we were just showing, this one right here, is Brad Keselowski's. You see it through the middle there. The team looked at me, they shrugged, they said, hey, we're loose, and loose is fast.
But loose puts a lot of strain on that right rear tire.
It really does. It's like driving on ice almost, I would guess, Rusty, that you're trying to find a little grip anywhere you can and just kind of skating around, digging with that old hot
rod. They talk about the 09 car, John West Townley. He blew the right rear tire out of that. That just took it a little bit to the limit right there. So those guys got to be careful with that stuff.
Now, as we come to the 1-to-go signal, you're going to see a bunch of cars pass the pace car and come back around. This is one of those new twists to NASCAR racing when they put the double file shootout style restart rule into effect this year. It's called the wave around. Well, actually, they've already done the wave around because Kyle Busch is the first one behind the pace car. So you got a whole bunch of guys who were trapped a lap down.
They're going down. There goes the wave around.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So Kyle Busch will come up behind the pace car. There's a blue car up the front there. Confused me. My apologies for that. Kyle Busch will come up behind the pace car. So all of those cars you saw, they'd just been on pit road under the green flag. They chose not to stop under the caution. When the last stragglers who hadn't pitted under the green, like Greg Biffle, went down pit road, that put them between the new leader, Kyle Busch, in the 18 and the pace car. They get the wave around. Essentially, they're back on the lead lap for this restart. restart, another new strategy tool put into the hands of the crew chiefs via this rules adjustment in race procedure earlier this year.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, you got me totally confused now.
Well, you had your eyes popping out of your head earlier today. So, yeah. Carl Edwards, though, is not going to, well, he's going to lose a little track position for this restart. He got caught speeding a little bit ago.
Okay, you needed to research the too fast entering and find out if that's from the 12's pit box, because I was not too fast at the call. 10-4, they're checking on it right now. They're going to tell us.
So Carl Edwards going to have to start at the back of the line. He should be the 15th place car for the restart, though again at the tail end of the field. 10 cars on the wave around. It's going to leave us 15 on the lead lap, and now we'll go back racing.
Let's get it on.
Marty, DJ, Andy, straighten us out.
All right, let's get you up to date. It's Scott Speed, then also Keller, Wallace, Harvick, Scott, Edwards, Carter, Sorensen, Boyer. They all got the wave around. So race leader Kyle Busch brings them back to green flag racing here on lap number 64 of 200. Gonna try it 3 wide. Hold on, here we go. That's Justin Allgaier on the high side. He makes it stick around Michael Annett.
Justin Allgaier is that first car lap down. He wants to try to keep himself in that position in case we should have a caution to get that lap back.
Well, another car that's a lap down is the 22, just a little bit further back. Our pole sitter, there he is, Parker Kligerman, and that's because of a 23-second pit stop. Look at this, 3 wide. Here we go, Greg Biffle. He's got the low line. The 20 is Joey Logano, and Keselowski says, I'm getting out of this.
Greg Biffle's got a great race car now. He's starting up front with these guys. He doesn't have to start at the very tail end like he did at the beginning, where he made up 30-plus spots.
Here we go. These guys just are having a little action going on a little bit further back. That was Jason Leffler and Justin Allgaier side by side.
And I think the 38 and the 12 might have had a little contact as they came up on the 1 car. David Gilliland today.
Remember, Allgaier, first car, 1 lap down. Here comes Biffle. He's got the 20 underneath. Biffle trying to make the pass stick. This is for Biffle. Trying to get around. Can't get it done yet.
It looks like Joey Logano's found a little something in that second lane up there. He's able to hold off Biffle through 1 and 2.
It's Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, Brad Keselowski, and there you can see 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, and sometimes you get forced into finding something, and Joey Logano, I don't know if he was thinking about running up there, but he got in that 3 wide situation and was up on the outside and is really making his work. Now he goes right back to the bottom, so I don't know, maybe he wasn't too happy with that. As we see, he's going to pass Brian Vickers for that 2nd spot as he coming off of turn 2. I think he's just got a fast race car, whichever lane he chooses.
Well, and Vickers had a little wiggle coming out of 2 as well, but already teammate Kyle Busch has opened a 1.3-second lead. He has now led 54 laps. He is 20 away from tying the single season mark.
Well, we heard him say that Kyle wanted his car to be a little bit better on the start of a run, and looks like he's able to do that now.
Kevin Harvick, Scott Speed, they are duking it out for position. The 40 car of Mike Bliss is 1 lap down in 20th. They both clear Bliss. Meanwhile, here comes Keselowski trying to get around Vickers for 4th.
Yeah, once again, Keselowski started on the outside of the front row beside Kyle Busch on this restart, but fell back. It looks like his car is still a little bit on the loose side to start these runs, but it really comes in pretty quickly.
Which way would you rather have it, Dale? One that'll go right off the bat, or one that you have to slip back there and then your car comes in and you can start passing them back?
Yeah, I want it both ways. I want it to go fast like Kyle Busch is doing. That's what his car does. Why can't mine be like that?
I should know. Typical driver. I want it both ways. There is Carl Edwards, and he is in a mix there with, let's see, about 4 or 5 other cars. Remember, he had to go back because of the speeding penalty. It was in the 4th segment. He was at 53 miles an hour, I think it was, or 58 officially. That's Reed Sorensen, of course, still looking for a full-time ride for next year. And right a little further back is Stephen Wallace, who is in that battle for the 5th and final spot at the awards ceremony in Homestead. And right now, if the race ended, Stephen would be back in 6th, and it would be Justin Allgaier making the speech.
I think these guys are going to battle down to that last race in Homestead to see who's going to get that 5th spot. They're both doing a terrific job on the racetrack. You see Steven trying to make a pass here.
And that'll give Rusty Wallace ulcers.
He's the one that chose to be an owner, so he has to deal with that.
That's right. We all sit down. Rusty's one raised his hand and said, I want to be the owner.
the part I like, you talked to Steven and you asked him what's more important.
Yeah, I said, what's more important, winning a race or finishing in the top 5? To you. He said, well, winning a race right now is most important to me. I said, that's not what Pop says, is it? He said, nope. he wants that top 5 points position at the end of the season.
Let's take a look at how his hands are handling the car. A little bit of wiggle there.
Yeah, that's not uncommon out of the corners in this racetrack, though. You really have to work the car. If you get it to where you can just hold it, you're probably going to be too tight for a good portion of a run.
Stephen Wallace won the Hickory Speedway race last week, late model race back at our hometown.
Here's the ironies of sometimes. Here's his teammate Brendan Gaughan. Brendan was awful during practice, and in fact, even through qualifying, he was the slower of the two. And now he's in 10th, duking it out with Scott Speed, Kevin Harvick, Eric Darnell, all of them in there fighting for position.
Yeah, Brendan Gaughan's another that likes to run that high side. You can see he's making it work pretty well there with Kevin Harvick.
And you see that 99 car's got a big run here. Scott Speed, he's catching these guys while they're racing side by side. And look at Harvick's car. Now they're 3 wide.
That's what you have to really be careful of. You get down on the inside, you lose that air, and your car gets really loose right then.
Scott Speed, as we go on board with Brendan Gaughan, you can see the view and a little sparking as the 99 bottoms out.
Scott Speed has a fast race car. He's doing a really good job in this car. We commented on it pretty much every week, every time he's in this car, how good a job he does in this nationwide car for Michael Waltrip Racing.
Things settle down, at least for the moment, as these guys sort of fall back in. And here goes Brendan exploring that high line again. He loves to run racetracks on the high side. It's paid dividends for him so far, but here comes Scott Speed on the low side, and looks like he's going to take the position away.
I think, like you said, Dale, that 99's got a good car, and that's going to definitely prevail in this battle.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of the Cup guys sitting around today watching this race and hoping these guys will kind of widen the groove out on this racetrack. We've got problems here.
Peyton Sellers has tagged the wall, and that'll bring out our 3rd caution of the day. As
coming to pit road, guys. Coming to pit road. You got no brakes, guys. You got no brakes.
He was 21st, and everybody get out of the way because he's got no brakes.
So what happens when you hit the wall like that? It can bust the rotor.
Garage, it looks like.
And all the brake parts in there start flying around. So you can't, just don't have any brakes to get it wound down. He'll turn the engine off, put it in gear, and let the clutch out a little bit here and get it stopped.
Well, let me ask you a question as we get ready for another round of pit stops. It hasn't been that long since we were in. If you're coming, you want tires, or you just want the pit or
well, we
position?
want tires. We definitely want to get tires on the car. The only thought here is you don't want to just use them all up if we have a bunch of quick cautions. So you got to think about it. That's one thing about this series. Here comes Carl Edwards. You got to think about whether you use those tires up at this point.
Carl has to have a problem because pit road's not open yet here.
So pit road closed, and they'll go to work. So obviously there's an issue there for the 60.
Yeah, something that he wanted to get down pit road immediately for and take the penalty, which is starting at the end of the line. He was already back there, but he'll have to start behind everybody here.
All right, let's take a look and see exactly why we are under this caution. Our 3rd of the day here at Kansas Speedway. Oh, just a little too much.
Yeah, that's just a little scrape right there. That's not. I don't think that would have done enough
I think he
damage.
came on down into turn 3 then. From that, maybe he rubbed a tire, and that's when he got into the wall a lot harder as he got to turn 3. That was coming off of 2.
So
okay, the leaders are coming down pit road.
Yeah, now the question will be, do you take 2? Do you take 4? Do you take none?
Brad Keselowski stayed out there on the racetrack, though.
All right.
That means Brad will have an extra set of tires.
Vince, let's send it your way.
The 16 of Greg Biffle, he and Eddie Pardue were discussing what they were going to do on this pit stop, whether or not to come. Greg Biffle says the car and the balance is awesome, so they're going to just take 2 tires and fuel.
Dave? Kyle Busch said, I like my car the way it is. 2 right side tires, that is it, full of Sunoco fuel.
Well, there's 2 teams that said for 2. Joey Logano's going to come out of this mix in 3rd. Brian Vickers looks like he'll be 4th. And the 99 of Scott Speed is still sitting there on the right side of your screen, just now getting back underway. Oh, 1. The problems for Carl Edwards getting worse.
They're working all over this car, Vince. They got the window out and they're working on the front end.
Yeah, the valence has been an issue. Carl said early in the race he thought he had either run over something. He said thought for sure something had come off his car, but they weren't quite sure what it was. And then when they came down pit road on that initial stop, Dan Stillman, the crew chief, said we've got valence damage. So that's what they had been discussing as to whether or not when they were going to come down and fix it. You see they're addressing that situation now. It's not been a good run early on for Carl Edwards. Doesn't particularly like the way the car is handled and having these issues as well. Not a way to creep back up on Kyle Busch toward the championship, is it, guys?
No, I didn't, Vince. And I've watched that 60 car early in the race. Even when he was running pretty good, I saw it bottoming out a lot. You could see something under the car was hitting pretty hard, even early in the race. So something is evidently being caused a problem because of that.
Well, let me give you an idea how costly that could be. He's lost 74 points just through this last round of pit stops. If it doesn't get better for Carl, it's going to be great for Kyle. Stay with us. Back here at the Kansas Speedway, Brad Keselowski is shown as our race leader here, and we are under our third caution. And let's show you one more time what happened to Peyton Sellers.
And you see the orange car right there. We saw him just get up against the wall. He scrapes it coming off the corner, but this angle shows that he got a little tap maybe from behind after that, and it really pounded it the second time.
Well, this is the Kansas Lottery 300, and the guy who wins the jackpot is Justin Allgaier as he gets the lucky dog this time. And the 60 is back in pit lane.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure out what's wrong here. They're fixing the valence. You see them adding some aluminum to the front valence.
Well, we got a chance. Why don't we check in with our in-race reporter?
Hey, Clint, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Okay, bud.
Hey, looked like watching you in that first run, the car was pretty loose. Have you been able to adjust it and getting it better now?
Yeah, it's real loose getting going, and it gets tight pretty quick. But you'd rather be free longer than I could stand it for a few laps. I got to get it a little bit freer deep into the run. I think we can do that. It seemed like it was going to last a lot longer that time with the adjustment. So we're getting there. Just got to keep digging.
Hey, Clint, we're probably seeing more sun on the track right now than what you've seen the entire weekend. Is that making a difference with the track?
Yeah, it's starting to get, I think if your car's tight, you're going to just get tighter and that's slick, and that's why we needed to free it up, make an adjustment there. Got a little too loose again, but 2 tires here probably tighten that back up, play into our favor, hopefully.
All right, man. Thanks for talking. Good luck.
Thanks, bud.
All right, right now you can see Clint is 8th on the racetrack. Scott Speed got caught for speeding, and it was a long pit stop. So he's going to be at the very back, which will put him 16th. That's the last car on the lead lap. You see Eric McClure also topping off as well. So both of those cars go back out. Let's break down some of these pit stops, see who was really good and who was not so good, Andy.
Well, these are the fastest pit stops the last round there. You see all of them 2 tires, 6.2 seconds for the 18 car. That's pretty good. Clint Boyer there at 7.6. All of those are 2 tire stops.
All right, as we get ready to go back to green flag racing, Brad Keselowski stayed out. He last pitted on lap 57. We're working on lap number 80. So, driver, I'm wondering, is he a sitting duck with all these guys right behind you?
You have to think that's a terrible situation to be in, but they obviously have a plan that they want to stick with. But I would have to be extremely careful if I were Brad Keselowski right now with these guys all having 2 tires, a little bit better rubber on their cars to get started.
Well, let me give you one bit of good news if you're a Brad Keselowski fan. Right now, the way they're running with Carl having problems and Brad near the front, he's only 14 points out of 2nd place in the points championship. Pace car is off. Keselowski has chosen the inside. Kyle Busch on the outside. Greg Biffle 3rd. Joey Logano 4th. Brian Vickers 5th. And we're back to green flag racing here at Kansas.
Kyle Busch a little late to the throttle there on that start.
Yeah, Brad was a little early and Kyle wasn't quite ready to go yet.
Well, and Jeremy Clements is very slow on the restart as he is not up to speed yet. Probably has a problem with that car. We'll check on that. Keep you posted. Here you go side by side with Joey Logano and Greg Biffle. And Logano wants it and he's going to take it. And look at the battle for the race lead. Here comes Kyle Busch on the inside. Remember, he has led 63 laps so far. 75 is the magic number.
Well, Kyle Busch has 20 laps fresher right side tires than the 88 of Keselowski. You can see how much difference it's going to make, although the 18's had the best car all day anyway.
Yeah, and the 88 hasn't been the best on these restarts of the other cars, too. So it takes this car a little bit of time to come in.
Let's go back and take a look at the restart again. Whoa, and there is the 0 car.
Oh, man, that was almost a big crash.
On board with Justin Allgaier. Hello.
One inside.
And here's Carl Edwards' view behind Allgaier. Hello.
Wow, that was close.
Oof. All right. Now that we got your heart racing, let's go back to the race up front. You've got the 18, and there's Greg Biffle, still the car that we're sort of keeping our eyes on because he come all the way from 41st to get back into the hunt here. He is closing now on 3rd place, Brad Keselowski. But boy, Kyle is checking out again. Now up to 65 laps led.
We talked, we've chronicled that other guys have taken cars from the back to the front to win these races, but I'm not sure any of them were crashing in qualifying and not having a lap on them before they got ready. And I think that's what's so remarkable at a racetrack this difficult that Greg Biffle and this team have done that, as you see him take over that 3rd spot.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it says so much about Eddie Pardue and all the guys back at the shop that got this car ready. And, I mean, they had to do it quickly. I mean, it happened right there, like you said, in qualifying. They only had just a few hours to get this car ready with no practice whatsoever. Got to hand it to them. I mean, they still have a little bit of work to do. They're sitting there 3rd spot, and getting up to Kyle Busch and passing him's another thing, and the 20 car, the other Gibbs car. So got a little more work to do yet, but it's got a great race car. They ought to be proud of themselves.
Things are sort of settled down, at least for the moment. Nobody going after each other, nose to tail. And just as I say that, we check in on Kevin Harvick, and he's looking underneath Michael Annett. And let's check in with Dave.
Kevin Harvick has not been happy with his car on that last run, so they came down and put on 4 fresh tires. Here are his complaints. Listen.
Yeah, I mean, he just drives like crap. Doesn't do anything right. Was it worse that second run than the first run, or has it just been bad from the start? Yeah, just drives like it did yesterday. Well, we thought it was the wind and had an excuse, and today we don't.
So an excuse for the wind, Andy, is it sometimes easy to misadjust because it was so windy yesterday?
Yeah, that's one thing about that wind. Your car's acting funny. You want to make changes, and nothing really seems to affect it. So you say, okay, it must be the wind. But man, Kevin's fighting that race car big time right now. And like you said, they don't have that wind as an excuse today. So it must have been a problem really in the race car that they really never found a solution for.
Yeah, it looks like the majority of his problem starts about right here from the center of the corner. As you can see, he's there, but he's really turning back to the right. And really having to fight this thing.
Well, he looks so good. There's Justin Allgaier, and this is the battle for 5th on the points chart. And right now, it is back in the hands of the 66 by 1. But if Allgaier gets around him as he's getting a little loose, it'll switch again.
Well, Allgaier's back on the lead lap, so he's fortunate that
it's not for position. This is the 66 car is 1 lap down right now. You see the 12 car now going by Stephen Wallace. The battle's still on for points, but this right here is not for position.
See Scott Speed trying to battle his way back up there after having to start in the rear after that speeding on pit road penalty. He has a fast car.
Right now shown in 16th position, last car on the lead lap. Yeah, his last lap was at 33.3, race leader at 32.8. Kyle Busch, there he goes flying by as he has now got a 1.3 second lead over his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Joey Logano, with Greg Biffle 3rd, Keselowski 4th, Vickers in 5th. You're about to witness Nationwide Series history. The legendary Sam Ard led a total of 2,127 laps back in 1984, and with this lap right here, Kyle Busch now becomes the all-time single-season lap leader by 1 and counting over the legendary Sam Ard. And boy, how many records has he broken where we keep mentioning Sam's name?
Yeah, Sam Ard was a great competitor, and can say the same about Kyle Busch in the few years that he's been at this. And he just continues to set records and break others.
So Kyle still setting sail here. We have had 5 different leaders with 7 lead changes, but he has dominated in the laps led department, 75. The next closest is Parker Kligerman with 7. And by the way, Parker is in the lucky dog spot, 1 lap down in 17th, so he's hoping for a caution. And that'll give us a chance to get you up to speed with Nationwide Insurance. And first up, Dave Burns.
Why not, Marty? Why not? With the record-setting Kyle Busch right now leading this race. You've noticed that the sun has come out. We talked about the wind, but it's been cloudy here all weekend. And Kyle just radioed into his crew that that sun is making this car loose. Now something new for the crew chief to have to adjust to. Shannon?
Joey Logano has 3 wins this season. 2 of them have come on the 1.5-mile tracks. And even more bad news for the competition, this is the same car that Joey drove to victory lane in both of those races. They have been working on the handling of this car. Air pressure wedge and 2 tires on the last stop. But Joey Logano still saying the car is a little bit tight. Vince?
Greg Biffle running third. Biffle doesn't run this series full time, but it's easy to see why he has 20 career Nationwide Series victories. He's won twice this season. He has driven this car from the back to the front. He's led some laps today for the 8th straight time here at Kansas, and he is on the move again toward the front. Says his car is very, very good. Jamie?
And behind him is Brad Keselowski. Brad driving the same car that he went to victory lane with at Michigan. It's also the same car he ran here 1 year ago. His crew chief, Pop Series Senior, told me they've learned a lot about this car. It's better this time. His driver is better, and the engine package is better. He's just lacking overall grip. Shannon?
Brian Vickers says the car is just a little bit loose under throttle, but there was a little bit of a miscue on that last pit stop. Vickers thought the team was going to change 4 tires, but they only changed 2. But of course, Brian Vickers sat there and waited for a little bit. So he lost a little bit of time on pit road. He restarted 5th, and that's where he runs right now. Dave?
Kevin Harvick running behind him in 6th. Hey, what happened to Kevin? He restarted 10th, and he's been making his way forward. He radioed in and complimented the crew, thanked them for that air pressure change to the front tires. That was a reduction of air pressure. He says it's a lot better. We're close now. Vince?
David Gilliland running 7th. That's right about where he started. Started in the 6th position. He's in the 1 car today. You know, a lot of different drivers have been in that car throughout the course of the season, and just about every time somebody's in it, they run well. It's a testament to the talent that's been in the seat and also the crew that's getting it done. Gilliland says car is really good. He's having a good time today. Jamie?
And the 11 car running 8th right now. A lot of different drivers been in that car as well. Brian Scott, he's a Truck Series regular, making his 2nd start for CJM. His first was at Bristol, and he wrecked. He said he's out for redemption. Right now, he's saying the car not as loose. Behind him, our in-race reporter and local boy, Clint Boyer, started 34th, and his car is finally getting better. He said he's a little loose on the start. Last stop was at lap 77. They put right sides only on it. He's looking for his first win at his local track. Vince?
Michael Annette is running in the 10th position. Before the race today, his crew chief came on the radio and said, do something to be seen today. Well, I'd say Michael Annette, the rookie in that 15 car, is holding up his end of the deal. He says the car is tight right in the center, but it gets back on the throttle. Not too bad. They need to get better in the middle, though, if they're going to move up some more. Dave?
And Vince, Brendan Gaughan picking up that spot. Has picked up a couple since the restart. He said that the rear was out of the track during the last run. The car was basically tight. They took on 4 tires, made an air pressure adjustment for Brendan on the last one, and so far, he's moving up, getting ready to challenge Boyer. Jamie?
And Eric Darnell is in the 6th car again, pulling double duty this weekend. He's over there replacing Bobby Labonte for the 3rd time. The learning curve has been high, and he's won a truck race here at Kansas, but first time in the Nationwide car, and he continues to get better. Vince?
Well, Carl Edwards in the 60 car. It's been an adventurous day for Edwards. Unfortunately, more adventure than he'd like. The car has been tight in the center throughout much of the day, and then they had that valence issue. So Carl Edwards, they've been working on it. Dan Stillman came on the radio with him after that last stop and said, we've got the front end of the car taken care of. It should be good to go from here. Shannon?
Scott Speed making his first Nationwide start here at Kansas. He did win an ARCA race last year here at this very track. He's had some issues today. A pit road speeding penalty put him to the tail end of the longest line, and most recently he reported a vibration on that 99 car. Jerry Baxter told him if it got too bad, come on in. So far so good though, because they have not brought that car in. Just a little bit tight for Scott Speed. Jamie?
And behind him, Justin Allgaier had a little bit of damage before that last pit stop on lap 77. They made a lot of changes. Wedge, spring rubber put in, air pressure adjustment. He says he's loose right now, and the car doesn't feel
That's your 15 cars that are on the lead lap. We have a total of 13 cars that are either behind the wall or out of this race. Parker Kligerman, our pole sitter, is the first car, 1 lap down in 16th position. So we are past the halfway point. Kyle Busch has set another record. Can he pick up his first win in quite a while? About the last 9 races it's been since he's been to victory lane.
Back at the Kansas Speedway, Kansas City, Kansas, where the caution flag is just waved over today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. 4th one of the day, debris in turn number 2. The yellow flag leaving 15 cars on the lead lap. As you see the field taking the caution at the start-finish line, Kyle Busch is the leader. And the young man who made some headlines by starting in the number 1 spot today got caught a lap down after a bad pit stop under the green flag earlier. Parker Kligerman is going to be the free pass winner here. The 22 car in 16th place is going to get to come back around the leader and return to the lead lap. From the pit studio with Rusty and Brad, watching an interesting race for second place on the track a second ago.
You take a look at the 16 car. Greg Biffle gets into the left rear quarter panel of Joey Logano. Does a little damage to the right front of Greg's car. A lot of concern over that at the moment right now. Then the caution came out, and a good break for him to come in and get that thing looked at.
Yeah, it looks like Greg just misjudged the distance there just by a little bit. Got into the left rear of Joey, but I think no harm, no foul. We'll line them up. These boys go racing again.
So again, 15 cars on the lead lap. Kligerman will be the 16th. They're coming to the entrance of pit road here in a second. Expect to see most of the front runners come down the pit lane, if not all of the cars on the lead lap. Question is, again, they were just on pit road at lap 76. 2 tires, 4 tires, any strategy? They'll probably all get 4 here, huh?
I would think they get 4 tires. Boy, what a big break for Brad Keselowski. He was due in 6 laps.
Pit stops. Jamie, you're first.
And Brad Keselowski last stopped at lap 58. You're right, Rusty. It was a lucky break. He's going to change the air pressure on the left side, lacking overall grip, and it looks like it'll be 4 tires for the 88, Vince.
16 of Greg Biffle said he thought he might have had a little contact with another car on there. They used the binoculars, no real damage. He says, leave it alone. Don't make any chassis adjustments, just 4 tires. Dave?
Kyle Busch wants a chassis adjustment, Vince. That'll be a wedge adjustment, just a quarter turn on the left rear. Just a little bit free right now. 4 tires for him this time. Shannon?
A little aggressive on the 20 changes. They're going to make an air pressure wedge and track bar. Joey Logano says the car is a little bit tight. Marty?
And it looks like the race off pit road as Brad Keselowski is going to pick up 2 spots, and Joey Logano, Greg Biffle each drop 1, and then Clint Boyer picks up 3, so he has fought his way back up to 7th, at least on the battle off of pit road. Very interesting developments, and boy, Brad Keselowski's got to love what's happened here. He's back in play.
Tomorrow, the chase for the Sprint Cup continues from here in Kansas. And before we get the restart, a look at our Verizon Wireless race rundown now. Had some guys starting in the back like Greg Biffle in the 16. Started in a backup car after crashing in qualifying. He was in the top 10 at lap 30. Great run. Carl Edwards, second in the championship coming into this, has had some troubles today.
Yeah, he's got the air dam kind of messed up in that car. You see him trying to patch it up right now, get really good downforce back to that car, because without that, he's in trouble.
Then on a restart, he barely missed Jeremy Clements.
Boy, he really got lucky. Jeremy Clements rolled up. You see Carl snatch it to the left hand, goes inside. That's why he's a professional.
Carl Edwards right now on the track in 10th position. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch has dominated this race, and as part of that domination, he has made some history, setting the all-time single-season record in the Nationwide Series for laps led. Kyle Busch surpassing Sam Ard's record just a couple of seconds ago. Now, we showed you on the recent set of pit stops how Brad Keselowski got out in second. Greg Biffle's guy, one of those he got the pit stop at the expense of. Watch when the Jackman tries to let the car down here.
Oh, they got the hose wrapped around there. They're all kind of tied up. Really slowed them up a lot right there, and that can screw up the pit stop.
And as far as how that slowed up the time of the Biffle pit stop compared to Keselowski's, Mr. Petrie, you're big on looking at these numbers.
Yeah, you can see.
There you go.
It's obvious there. They had a little trouble on the right, and you can see how much that hose getting wrapped around the Jackman's foot cost them on that jack time, which is from the time the car drops on the right until they pick it up on the left.
All right, let's reset it for you. It's Kyle Busch. He's chosen the inside alongside Brad Keselowski, then Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, Kevin Harvick, and Brian Scott. That's your top 5, and we're back to green here at Kansas.
To give a call to Brad Keselowski's pit crew, they've done a solid job every time on pit road today, getting him in and out.
We mentioned the fact that yellow could not have been more critical timing for him. Look at Justin Allgaier trying the high line. Whoa, and there's some contact back there.
Beating and banging going on.
That's the 62 of Brendan Gaughan right alongside. 5 cars stayed out, got the wave around. Shelby Howard, Jason Keller, Reed Sorensen, Tony Raines, and Kenny Wallace. So that gives you a total now of 19 cars back on the lead lap as we are back here working lap number 114 of 200. Gonna go try 3 wide, a little further back in the pack. There we go. Everybody sliding through safely. Michael Annett and Justin Allgaier rubbing a little fender.
Michael Annett's having a great race so far. He's this is about as far back as he's been, actually. He's in 11th, 12th spot right here. Well, he's had the top 10 a lot of the race.
He's had 4 top 15 finishes in his last 6 races. Remember, this is a limited budget operation, and they still going side by side. He was 13th at Dover. He was the highest finishing rookie in that race. Brendan Gaughan rim riding again, at least as much rim riding as you can afford to do at this track.
Here comes Scott Speed trying to recover from that little penalty he got on pit road.
Speed gets around Annett. Eric Darnell takes a look underneath. That is for 12th, 13th, and 14th. Let's go back and take a look at the restart. Remember, we saw the smoke. Whoa, it was Darnell on the right front.
Right front to left rear contact with Justin Allgaier in the 12 car.
Well, that was 2 times that Justin Allgaier's had that since we restarted. He's lucky that his left rear tire hasn't been affected.
Right now, that is the view out the back of the 62 of Brendan Gaughan, and it's Justin Allgaier saying bye-bye to Brendan if he can, but all of a sudden, here he comes back on that high side. He loves that high line.
Yeah, Brendan has a fast race car. He's trying to make this high line work. Doesn't seem to be quite as good on the restarts, but as they get some laps on the tires, that really seems to be working for him.
That is for 10th on the racetrack. Justin Allgaier now trying to take it away. There is Scott Speed lurking in the wings.
You see Brendan's car really move when he got down in the middle of 1 and 2. There's a big bump down there in the middle of that corner, and you have to be careful trying to run that higher line.
That's a little different than what we've been seeing, guys.
Right.
Logano is he's tracking him down right here, Marty.
Yeah, he's actually running quicker than the race leader by 7/100ths that last lap. Logano closing in on Kyle Busch. Does this bring back memories of last week at Dover? Kyle led the first part of the race and then all of a sudden fell back.
Yeah, and Joey Logano's also done this a couple of times this year, racing in this 20 car versus Kyle Busch. He's been able to work and adjust on his car and be a little bit better as the race goes on. Dave?
This is a great matchup right now, DJ. And remember, Jason Ratcliffe, the crew chief for Kyle Busch, told me they wanted to work on the balance of this car. I said, at Kansas, what's most important? He says, I want this car to be the best it can be in the middle of the run, but I cannot give up the first part of the run. And here you see Kyle continuing to hold off Joey. The car is good at the first part. Shannon?
Dave, this 20 team got a little aggressive with the setup here this weekend. Dave Rogers says in the past couple weeks they've had several different drivers in this car. They've had to stick to the notebook. And since Joey Logano is back in this car, the driver that they are used to, as you see a great race on the left side of your screen, a driver that they are used to, they were allowed to go with a little bit more R&D, research and development. And that's kind of what they've done here today. And this 20 car looks alive right now.
Well, while you watch all this, remember one thing. The one guy that Kyle Busch doesn't want to see in that rearview mirror is Joey Logano, because Busch has finished second in all 3 of Logano's wins this season.
Well, I think that's a great point Shannon brings up, that they've got Joey in the car, and now they can go out there and do some things to get some real good feedback on all the changes and feel confident that it's better.
I have to laugh in thinking that they're talking like Joey Logano's a veteran out here. He's 19 years old, but he does have a tremendous feel for the race car, and it allows him to do those things.
Clint Boyer trying to close in on the 60 of Carl Edwards, and they've also got their hands full with David Gilliland. Gilliland giving this one car a good ride. He's in 7th right now. Well, he was. Now he's back to 8th.
Now, Carl Edwards looks like he's got his car fixed up a little bit now and able to start moving towards the front. Saw him on pit road making all those patches on the nose. They had the side window out of the car trying to figure out what was wrong with this thing. Looks like it's going better, though.
See where Justin Allgaier is the 4th car in that freight train. That is 10th position. All 4 of those cars running 4 position on the track right now. And Allgaier got around Scott Speed, Brendan Gaughan, and has opened up a little bit of distance. In that battle for the 5th and final spot. If things finish up the way they are right now, Justin would retake that position by 21 points. He came in trailing by 19. Take the view on the angle on the low side, the 29. That is Clint Boyer. And Boyer in the backup car looks like he's about to clear. Nope, not quite yet. Here comes Gilliland back.
You can see you can get a nice run off of these corners on that higher side. Sometimes you have to kind of tiptoe around there, and I think getting off of turn 4 you can do it a little bit easier than you can off of turn 2. See how David makes that work against Clint Boyer coming out of 2.
Great view from Justin Allgaier. And now it looks like Boyer may be able to clear him.
Yeah, you can see Clint get over against the one car a little bit to kind of pull him back, a little bit of side drafting, and it worked out for him. He was able to take that spot.
So Clint Boyer now up to 8th position, but Kyle Busch is still leading this race, but by only a half a second over Joey Logano. Back here to Kansas, let's check the calendar. We've got the O'Reilly Mid-South Nationals qualifying 10:30 Eastern tonight, and the finals at 7 Eastern tomorrow. And boy, Robert Height is on a roll there. Sprint Cup Series at Kansas, you'll see it on ABC at 1 Eastern tomorrow. And the only thing you have to remember about NASCAR now is 10 a.m., 10 p.m., and of course it's on ESPN2. And of course our next stop will be next Saturday out in California, 4 Eastern on ESPN2. Back here at the Kansas Lottery 300. A couple of minutes ago while we were in the break, Justin Allgaier literally had his hands full. Watch his hands on the steering wheel here coming through this corner.
He's racing this one car extremely hard. Look how they get up here. David Gill is right up on the bumper. And those hands are moving on that wheel.
Yeah, never a good sign when that left hand goes from the 10 position over to the 2 position. That's not good. But he was able to hang on. Great job.
Let's go on board with the one car of David Gilliland and give you another perspective. Or I'm sorry, on Justin.
Yeah, it looked like he might have been up against Justin, but I see a little gap right there. I guess just an arrow loose situation.
Just enough up under that rear bumper to take that air off, and you feel like the rear tires are lifted off the ground.
Well, Allgaier still running in the top 10 in 10th. Gilliland is 11th. And right behind them is Brendan Gaughan, Brian Vickers. We have a total of 19 cars on the lead lap, but it is still a Joe Gibbs Racing show up front. There's the margin now during the break. It is now gone from a half a second up to 1 full second, with Kyle now leading 111 laps. So he's locked in the bonus points for leading the most laps. And as far as Joey Logano, well, we talked to him about how a win is a win is a win.
Everyone knows I've had, ups and downs this season, and to have that confidence booster say, hey, I am here for a reason, I can do this, that's big. That's huge for, I think, any driver. So a win's a win to me, and they're so hard to get these days. You got to cherish them as much as you can.
And Joey right now has a comfortable margin of a full second over third place Brad Keselowski. He's going around the lap vehicle of Matt Carter there in the 61. You can see his record there where he started.
He's going to have some company here in a minute. I see that 88 car just slowly moving in on Joey. His car is starting to come around and starting to come in. Starts off, like you said, they're a little bit loose on these restarts and doesn't really seem to be able to go. But after they run a few laps, this 88 is pretty strong.
Yes, these other guys probably start fighting a little bit of a push and tight situation in the center of the corner as they run on. Brad's car still turning good, and it really comes on. It's not that he's getting faster. He's just not slowing down as much as the other cars.
Let's give you an idea who is really fast here at Kansas Speedway. There's our race leader, Kyle Busch. His last lap was at 33.5 seconds. What does that translate to in mile an hour? Well, we'll give you an idea. 163. Joey 162 on down. Greg Biffle. Second quick, Kevin Harvick. Boy, Brian Scott's given that 11 car a good ride. He's up to 6th position now. There's Edwards at a 161 and change. And your top 10 with Allgaier also at 161. And then we drop down into the 160.
Greg Biffle. This car's still fast. Running 4th.
When we talk about leading the most laps, that has not been one of the signs of good fortune here at Kansas. Only once in the history of this event has the lap leader gone on to win the event, and that was last year when Denny Hamlin turned the trick. Every other time it's been no go.
Hasn't been the best thing for Kyle Busch in a lot of races this year either. He's led a lot of laps, as documented, obviously, the lap leader, but there have been a number of times that he's led the most laps, but hasn't gone on to win.
How about 12 times here in 09? He's gone on to win 4 of them. Now, there's guys that would love to win 4 races in a year, but Kyle says, wait a minute.
He lost 8 of them.
Yeah, that's right. That's the way he looks at it. Look at Michael Annett trying to get underneath the 32 of Brian Vickers. That is for position.
Hang on.
13th. Woohoo! And that's going to give a little breath.
He'll sit back and regroup for a minute here.
I promise you, the next corner, you're a little bit easier into the throttle. Even though you might not be beside a car, and that's probably what created the situation, it still gets your attention for a lap or so.
Well, and Jason Leffler there in the 38, that is not for position. Jason is 1 lap down. It's not been a great day for the Great Clips car. He's 21st right now. Let's go back and take another look at this. And wish we had a heart monitor on the 15 right now.
Well, he's trying to dig hard, but anytime you're on the inside of that car, even though you can see there's a little space between them, it's still that inside car is not getting all the air to the spoiler. Creates a loose situation. He did a great job of hanging on, though.
DJ, I got to set you up for this. I have some friends down around where I live, and they see that and they go, that doesn't look all that wicked. I mean, it doesn't look violent. Explain for them, will you?
I've always been amazed when I go back and watch when we have a caution on the speedway now.
It will be our 5th. Last time we had debris over in turn 2. We saw a water bottle and also some minor contact with the wall. We'll get the report from NASCAR on the reason for this one, as Kyle Busch's 1.2 second lead is about to evaporate.
Yeah, and Jason Keller was just about to get lapped there, but he is going to stay on the lead lap.
We're told now from NASCAR, debris in turn number 3. Big break for Jason Keller. He was about to go a lap down, and 18th position, and it will keep him on the lead lap. It'll be Kenny Wallace that will get the lucky dog position, and that will again put us with 19 cars.
Artie, I'll finish what you asked me. That I was always amazed to go back and watch races where I thought I was just totally sideways out of control, and you watch it on TV and it's like, well, that's no big deal. But I know sitting in the race car, and the other drivers will tell you the same thing. Man, you're sideways at 170 miles an hour like that. It feels like you're looking to the infield.
Well, the driver's the only one that knows just how close that is to actually losing control. He knows.
You can see the crews are set up for what could be. No, I don't think we'll be able to go. No, we're going to have to get one more pit stop.
It's going to be right there, though. There may be somebody that can stretch this.
There's somebody that's sure going to try. I'm quite certain.
I would say somebody might try it. They're all going to pit here and get full tanks of fuel. We'll see who tries it if it goes green.
And somebody towards the back may come back in a second time and top off right before we get ready to go back green.
If we get enough laps, you're right. That would be a big advantage. So we'll wait and see how this all shakes out with our race leader Kyle Busch and Joey Logano.
But Marty, this is a very critical pit stop, because even if they do make another one, this one here is going to this stop here is going to set them up for where they're going to be when they make, when it comes time to win the race.
Everybody going to take 4, or would you gamble on 2 with this many laps?
Well, it's going to take 1 can of fuel. You might see even somebody take 2 tires, but I think 4 tires is the call.
As a driver, I'd be hollering for 4, knowing that we could go to the very end here.
All right, we're going to find out as everybody comes down pit lane. And we're going to send it to Jamie first.
And tires could be an issue for a lot of these teams. Marty, the 88 stayed out one of those times. They have an extra set. He said he needs more overall grip. For Brad Keselowski, car remains good, Vince.
For Greg Biffle, just a little bit tight, so they're going to make a small air pressure adjustment. 4 tires for the 16. They're going to be good to the end from here. Dave?
Kyle Busch counting tires. He knows this is his last full set. Still has some lefts back here. Wedge adjustment up on the left rear. Too tight that run. Shannon?
Last set of tires for Joey Logano as well, but they're going to put 4 fresh ones on this car. They're going to make an air pressure and a wedge adjustment to try to free him up just a little bit.
Wow, and Brian Vickers gets out and picks up 12 spots with 2 tires. Will it pay dividends? As another big winner was Scott Speed, as he picked up a couple of spots as he comes out in 7th. The loser, Brian Scott, dropped 3. Stay with us. We'll see how this unfolds. So under our 5th caution of the day for debris over in turn 3 here at the Kansas Speedway, race number 29 in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. As we listened in, and tires, of course, are always an issue. Listen to Joey Logano.
This sucks, man. We only go 60 laps. We got 62 to go, and one set of tires left.
That's Dave Rogers. He's talking about, man, it couldn't fall any worse. We can only go 60 laps, and we have to run 62 to make it to the end. And oh, by the way, that was the last set of tires we've got. So if the caution does come out, we don't even have any to put on.
Well, let's talk to our in-race reporter, see what kind of position they're in.
Hey, Clint, Dale Jarrett, you got me?
Yeah, I got you, Dale.
Hey, Clint, we've seen the outside groove work more in other races here. Is there a reason that it's not coming in there today?
I just think it's, the temperature's so cold, the grips in the, in the track, fastest way around, the shortest way around. So, as the sun comes out, I think it's may widen out a little bit more. A lot more rubber will be down at the end of this race and on into tomorrow. I think you'll see a lot more two-wide racing tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Let's give you the 4 waiver rounds. Eric McClure, Scott Wimmer, Jason Leffler, Mike Bliss. So that'll give us a total of now 22 cars on the lead lap. Take a look at the pit time breakdown in 2 tires.
These are the fastest 5 pit stops on that round of pit stops under the caution. You see Brian Vickers takes 2 tires, 7.1. But look how close these other guys are. The 20, 16, 18, the 12. They're all right there, 13.5 seconds.
Yeah. Remember, Keselowski has 1 full set of tires left. Everybody else just has lefts. And if you're just joining us here at the bottom of the hour, it is a restart with Brian Vickers on the inside, or actually he has taken the outside with Kyle Busch inside in the 2nd spot. And we've got Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, and Brad Keselowski as we are back to green in front of a huge crowd here at Kansas Speedway. Who's going to win it? Stay with us to find out.
Okay, Dale, there's your first taker for the outside on this double file.
Yeah, this could be just seeing. I know he wants to win this race, but this might be something seeing for tomorrow, too.
Oh, Logano slips up.
Yeah, really loose right there.
He's going to lose another spot to Harvick here in the 33.
That was
Here comes
close.
Carl Edwards.
Carl's going to try and squeeze.
He was looking.
Vickers able to hang on the outside up there just ahead of these guys, outside of Kyle Busch.
Side by side, they come down, cross the stripe. Who's going to lead on this lap? It is going to be Kyle Busch by, 18 1/1000th of a second.
So far, Vickers making those 2 tires work. Gets a little advantage in 1 and 2.
Yeah, the question is how long, and there's Greg Biffle, started 41st, has come back so strong early in this race, has been a player ever since. And Brad Keselowski, if they have a pit stop, if we get one more caution with, as you pointed out, Andy, 25, 30 laps to go with 4 tires still in the bank, woo, look out.
That's a big advantage right there. If this thing doesn't go green to the end and they have a caution with 25, 30 laps to go, boy, that puts that 88 car in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and something else that helps him, he seemed to be able to go further on fuel, so if we do go to the end, he might be one that can make it. Plus, his car continues to run really well as he gets laps on his tires.
So Vickers with 2 tires on this last stop, still holding off the most dominant car of the day, the 18 of Kyle Busch. Kyle has led 121 laps.
Here comes Kyle.
Yeah, he's got an underneath line going down on the apron.
He almost caught the grass right there.
And he clears him.
And you might say, why did he have to do that? He's just getting as far away so that the 32 couldn't side draft him. Remember back to Michigan, I think that would tell you why he went down there. Those same 2 guys had a little issue coming to get the white flag, and Brian was side drafting him, and Kyle was making sure that didn't happen right there.
And Vickers now under attack from not only Biffle, who's passed him, Keselowski's passed him. So the 2 tires gave him track position, but right now everybody's eating him up.
Well, they kind of had to do that. They lost some track position, talk about Brian Vickers, whenever they had to repair the rear of that race car. So they needed to do something to get back up there, but it's not working too well with these 4 tires for everybody else right now.
Joey Logano on the high side in the 20 going around, and there's Kevin Harvick licking his chops as well. Here comes Harvick. So Vickers continues the backward slide, and he has now dropped all the way back to 6th. Carl Edwards now coming up on him, and whoa, turns him. Carl gets into him. Through the infield.
Definite contact from Carl Edwards. Square in the back of the 32 here.
So now Vickers, who doesn't hit anything except the infield grass, is not going to be very happy with Carl. We now have our 6th caution.
This will be a big break for cars that couldn't make it to the end. Now we get some caution laps.
So do they come get fuel, or are you just going to save the fuel on the racetrack?
They'll just save it on the racetrack. I mean, some of the cars that are back on the tail end of the lead lap will come in and get fuel, but the leaders will have to stay out here.
The lucky dog will go to Stephen Wallace, who's in 23rd right now. And there you are on board with Stephen. It's not been a very strong day for him. He has been basically 1 lap down the entire race. And for Brian Vickers, he was 6th when this mess started. And let's go back and take another look, see if he checked up, or did Carl just plow him?
Well, I think Carl thought he was going to get the outside like the other guys had done, and Brian kind of slid right up in front of Carl, and Carl opted not to get out of the throttle. I think he thought the hit that he was going to give was just going to kind of move Brian out of the way. I don't think he intentionally tried to spin him. It was just to let him know that he was there.
Let's go on board with Carl.
I think he knew.
He definitely knows now for sure. You know, this is a risk
you
that
can hear
you
right
take.
there.
Yeah.
Carl did get out of the throttle.
Yeah, it's a risk you take when you get those 2 tires.
Yellow's out.
Of guys being faster.
I always hate to put my car in a defensive position, and that's what happens here when you have that track position with 2 tires, as you see him going around here. It puts you in a defensive position where you have to hold off cars, and it's very risky. Like you said, Dale, I mean, you can get run over by anybody.